Hello, everyone, all my awesome, fantastic nerds that are out there. Welcome to Be Social Simple. My name is Jonathan Sarr from Market Me Social, and we are on episode 3 of our show with my awesome sis, Taryn. Taryn, welcome to the show. Glad to have you again.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, and I forgot to introduce in the other couple episodes. I'm going to move over there. You guys can see my my tired Australian cattle dog, and his name is Baloo, Baloo, from the Jungle Book. So he's my buddy, and I want you guys to kind of get to know me and get to know my dog because he rocks. But he doesn't know much about uh, marketing, but he is a good security dog, and that's what we happen to be talking about today. Is having good security on your website and how important that is. So that's the topic for episode number 3. So before my sis gets into the different bullet points we want to discuss with you, remember to subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this episode. We're so happy to give you this complimentary education and talk about a very important subject. And so, sis, uh, what's on the docket today? Why is cybersecurity, or why is website security so important? What do we need to share with the audience today?
Well, the statistics have shown that since COVID-19 has hit, because there's more and more websites, more and more web traffic, that unfortunately that has also brought in far like
Yeah.
exponentially more crime. It's unbelievable. When I was looking up these statistics, I could not believe what I was reading. The first one, let's just jump right into it. 80% of hacking breaches now involve brute force or stolen credentials. So something that used to be kind of difficult now is just kind of mainstream. So what's your first thing that you would shout out to people to tell them how to avoid these attacks?
Yeah, that's a scary statistic, and we'll have the reference in the show notes and on the blog too, where these statistics are coming from. So 80% of hacking breaches involve brute force or stolen credentials. So brute force is a term that, if you don't know website security, be like, well, just think of what that literally means. Just like brute force going through your door. What would you go through the door? You would use brute force. You would use, a hammer or body weight or something. So from with that visual in mind, that's what's happening to websites, where these farms are out there that are just pinging websites with multiple admin usernames and passwords, in the hopes that they will be able to compromise your site and put some code in there or do something else that's really, really terrible. So with that in mind, here is the craziest thing. It's just like having a password that's 1 2 3 4. I hope you don't have that password for your website, but your username is just important. When I look at all of the reports that we have on our client websites, the number one brute force attack username is admin. So don't do that. Don't have your username as admin or the name of your company or something simple like that. There's lots of possibilities are out there. We'll get into some other items that in combination, but typically don't use admin, use something else, and discuss that internally, what that looks like from a security perspective. So that's really important to remember. So good stats, sis. What else do you got?
Okay, so this is where it gets really scary. So not only here we got 80% up of these brute force attacks. Now we're going to talk about cloud-based attacks. 630% between January and April last year, an increase 630%. That's insane. So basically what they rounded it down to is that there's a cyber attack every 39 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you think like, oh, they're not going to touch my website, nobody's going to do that. Yeah, no, they're out there.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And I'm assuming these are obviously successful attacks, probably when they're making that reference, not just literally. So it's a difference between attempts and actual success of attacks. So no matter what, You don't want to be one of those statistics. So you need to understand what you have. Don't be that person who's like, I don't know anything about it. You at the very least need to be somewhat informed. Now, you may not be the most qualified person to implement your website security, and that's fine. But you need to know what it's about. So, what does your website hosting company have? Are you aware of security that they have in place to protect your website from malware, as an example? We use WordFence, and there's other software tools that are out there also that are excellent for uh, preventative measures on your website from a website security perspective. Very cost effective too. So you have to really measure out how much security do you need, should be somewhat commensurate with the amount of website traffic that you have. That's a long sentence. But there's a big difference if you have an e-commerce site, what you should have for security versus a static site that you're not really using for much. You may post a blog once in a while. It's not a big component of your business, but it is still there. Maybe it's more for a local audience. So those are just some factors that you have to talk about as a company, and even as a small business owner. You don't ignore it. Look at your website security. I had a client a few years ago that he lost his entire website for about 2 weeks because of not having really, not having proper security. And it took us a while to get it up and ready. So not only the security, but ask questions like backups. So what kind of backups do you have for your website? Do you have a daily backup? How easy is it to restore a backup? Are also items that you would want to consider for some basic level website security. So don't be a statistic, I guess, is the lesson, right? Yeah, very good, sis. What
Yeah.
else?
That's it. Like, you don't want to be a statistic, because the next statistic is as a business owner, is the one that's going to hurt the most. At least 60% of companies that had a cyber attack, they usually fail, or the businesses have to shutter within 6 months because of the ensuing lawsuits.
Yeah.
Because you've lost a customer list, you let somebody's private information out there. Your business, even if you have insurance only covers so much. The lawsuits that come, that leads to that next statistic, 60%. It's hard enough being a business owner. You don't want that on top of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Valid points. I'm glad you brought that up about insurance. That's another often overlooked item. So basic errors and omissions should be part of your policy. There is cyber security that can be an add-on to your business policies. Just so basically, be aware of what's on your policy. Don't discount it. Well, yeah, I have business insurance. Do you know what your business insurance actually covers? And to step back to something I mentioned earlier, so it is important that you are aware of what your website needs. Be aware of it. Don't be ignorant about it. But it also could come, it comes right down to, do you know how to implement it? And you may need someone to do that for you. So depending on the size of your business, you may have someone in-house that's qualified to do it, which is great. You may be big enough as an organization that you have that IT person, someone who specializes in website security, or that is one of their specialties. Or you may need to outsource it, which is also perfectly reasonable and logical. If you need your website up and running, you don't want the headaches of it just going down, and then you don't have anybody available to fix it, and you're trying to figure out what to do. So it's important either way to have someone who knows your website well, knows that has checked the boxes of website security implementation, because, and again, this has to be on the degree of what type of website that you have. But you need to sit down and analyze that, ask the questions, contact someone who knows it. You can call us if you want to. We'll help you with that security audit and give you some recommendations. So good best practices when it comes to your website security. Scary stats, sis.
Scary times, but with the right practices, as you've mentioned, or having the right people in charge of it, then you can sleep a little easier at night.
Yeah. Very good. And there's other things too that you can keep in mind, like two-factor authentication, single sign-on. reCAPTCHA is a Google product that helps, but it really just comes down to just being really aware of what's available and keep your site as secure as possible. And as your site and your company grows, then your website security best practices should also grow in conjunction with that. Yeah, very good. Very good. So great points, great stats, scary, but not unmanageable. So they should drive you to make some adjustments if you see there's a gap within your current structure. So thank you everyone again for being here. This is episode number 3. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. Thank you, sis, for putting these stats together and giving us some great commentary for our discussion today. We look forward to seeing everyone on our next episode. Take care, everyone.